The radio crackled at exactly 13:47 hours. Mayday, Mayday, this is Viper 6 Actual. We are pinned down, heavy contact, 24 Rangers surrounded, Grid Tango 749, requesting immediate sniper support. Hey, maintenance girl. Major Blake Morrison's voice cut through the tactical operations center like broken glass. Didn't your mother teach you not to eavesdrop on grown-up conversations? Harper Reed looked up from the communication array she'd been repairing, her tool belt hanging loose around her athletic frame. Long neon blue hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, fair porcelain skin unmarked by makeup. She looked exactly like what she was supposed to be, a civilian contractor fixing equipment. "Sir, I heard the transmission," she said quietly, setting down her multimeter. 24 Rangers at Grid Tango 749, that's 12 kilometers northeast, high ground overlooking Wadi Jahannam. Taliban probably using the ridge approach, approximately 60 fighters based on radio chatter. Morrison's laugh was sharp and cruel. "Listen here, Wrench Turner. Real soldiers are dying while you play war games. Why don't you stick to what you know, changing light bulbs and unclogging toilets?" Captain Tessa Cole, monitoring satellite feeds, smirked without looking away from her screens. "Blake's absolutely right. This isn't some video game tutorial, sweetheart. Actual lives are at stake." But Harper Reed had been quietly tracking every Taliban movement for 3 months. And what nobody in that room knew was that 18 months ago, she'd walked away from a career that had made her name whispered, in reverence and fear across every special operations community in the world. Today, 24 Rangers would discover exactly what happened when you cornered someone who had spent 8 years learning to kill at distances that most people couldn't even see. The Tactical Operations Center hummed with controlled urgency as personnel moved between workstations, managing 3 different combat operations simultaneously. FOB Bravo represented the cutting edge of American military technology, state-of-the-art communications equipment, satellite feeds providing real-time intelligence, and seasoned professionals coordinating complex rescue operations across Afghanistan's most dangerous terrain. Harper continued her maintenance work, her fingers moving through diagnostic procedures with automatic precision while her attention focused entirely on the developing crisis 12 kilometers away. The communication array required delicate calibration to maintain contact with scattered American units, but her movements betrayed a familiarity with military equipment that extended far beyond standard contractor training. She adjusted frequency settings with the unconscious efficiency of someone who'd performed these exact procedures thousands of times under conditions where failure meant death. Her hands moved to backup power systems, redundancy protocols, and encryption safeguards that most contractors never encountered during their civilian training programs. "Viper 6, this is Bravo Control," Morrison spoke into his headset with professional authority. "We copy your situation. Air support is grounded due to weather conditions, ETA unknown. QRF is spinning up now, 90 minutes to your location." The response crackled through speakers positioned throughout the TOC. Lieutenant Drew Nash's voice carried controlled desperation underneath military discipline. "Bravo Control, we don't have 90 minutes. Taliban are massing for final assault. Estimate 60 to 70 fighters in prepared positions. We've taken 4 KIA, 2 urgent surgical, ammunition at 40%. Request immediate sniper support or we're looking at total loss." Harper's hands paused over her equipment for exactly 3 seconds. The tactical terminology Nash had used painted a picture that professional soldiers would recognize immediately. Rangers trapped in a depression, outnumbered 3 to 1, facing experienced fighters who knew every rock and crevice and terrain they'd been using to kill Americans for over a decade. "Sir," Harper said, her voice cutting through radio chatter with quiet authority. The grid coordinates Lieutenant Nash transmitted placed his unit in the valley approach to Objective Rattlesnake. Taliban have used that exact ambush position against American forces 6 times in the past 18 months. Morrison turned from his console, his expression shifting from annoyance to genuine anger. "Excuse me, did I ask for tactical analysis from the help?" The terrain characteristics suggest established fighting positions with interlocking fields of fire designed to channel advancing forces into predetermined kill zones, Harper continued, her voice maintaining the same level tone despite Morrison's escalating hostility. Standard Taliban tactics for that geographic area based on previous engagement patterns. Standard Taliban tactics? Morrison's voice rose to carry across the entire operations center. Lady, you fix communication equipment. You don't analyze enemy tactical patterns or provide intelligence assessments to military officers. Master Sergeant Kane Rivers looked up from his coordination duties, his weathered face showing the particular alertness that came from 30 years of military service and an ability to recognize when someone demonstrated knowledge they weren't supposed to possess. Harper's analysis had been accurate, detailed, and delivered with confidence that suggested extensive familiarity with Taliban operational methods. "Ma'am," Rivers said carefully, "how exactly are you familiar with Taliban tactical employment in that specific geographic area?" Harper met his steady gaze, calculating exactly how much information she could provide, without triggering the kind of detailed background investigation that would compromise 18 months of carefully maintained civilian cover. Maintenance work requires security briefings. I've reviewed after-action reports for equipment recovery operations in that sector. Morrison's laugh held no humor whatsoever. Security briefings? You replace light bulbs and calibrate radios. You don't have clearance levels for tactical intelligence reports or enemy pattern analysis. The information I referenced is available through standard contractor orientation materials, Harper replied, returning her attention to the communication array while understanding that every word of this conversation was being noted by personnel who'd begun questioning why a civilian contractor possessed tactical knowledge that exceeded their official qualifications. Around the operations center, other personnel had started paying attention to the developing confrontation. Morrison's public challenge to Harper's competence had created the kind of command authority test that military organizations handled through clear establishment of hierarchy and proper respect for chain of command. Captain Tessa Cole turned away from her satellite monitoring station, her blonde ponytail catching fluorescent lighting, as she examined Harper with something that approached personal animosity rather than simple professional skepticism. "Blake's being far too polite. This represents exactly what's wrong with modern contracting standards. Lower the qualification requirements, and suddenly every wannabe thinks they understand military operations." But there was something in Cole's tone that suggested more than general institutional concern about contractor competence. Her hostility carried a personal edge that implied previous experience or knowledge about Harper that extended beyond standard professional interactions between officers and civilian support personnel. Harper noticed Cole's particular attention, but continued working without acknowledging the verbal assault directly. Years of training in emotional regulation served her well in high-stress environments where maintaining composure often meant survival, but she filed away Cole's reaction for future consideration. If that dismissive treatment of Harper made your blood boil, you're absolutely not alone. This incredible story is just getting started, and what happens next will completely shatter everything you think you know about first impressions. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because Harper's about to prove exactly why you should never underestimate someone based on their job title. "Ma'am," Rivers pressed quietly, "the specific details you mentioned about Taliban tactics in that geographic area, where exactly did you encounter that information during contractor orientation?" Harper paused in her equipment adjustments, recognizing that Rivers's question represented genuine professional curiosity rather than hostile challenge. His 3 decades of military experience had taught him to identify personnel with capabilities that didn't match their official documentation, and her tactical analysis had triggered recognition patterns that suggested hidden qualifications. "Sergeant, the contractor security briefing included geographic threat assessments for all areas where American personnel conduct maintenance operations. Taliban tactical patterns represent standard information for anyone working in forward operating bases. Ma'am, I've been involved in contractor security briefings for 8 years. Standard orientation covers basic threat awareness, not detailed enemy tactical analysis or historical pattern recognition." The careful response revealed Rivers's growing suspicion that Harper possessed knowledge extending well beyond civilian contractor qualifications. His tone remained respectful, but his questions probed specific areas where her explanations didn't align with standard procedures or authorization levels. Morrison stepped forward aggressively, his authority challenged by a civilian contractor who refused to acknowledge proper military hierarchy during active combat operations. "This conversation ends right now. Security, escort Miss Reed back to her assigned work area immediately." But before military police could respond to Morrison's order, Colonel Wade Drexler emerged from his private office with expressions that suggested he'd been monitoring the developing situation through internal communications systems. His gray hair and lined face indicated extensive combat experience, while his uniform displayed airborne and ranger qualifications alongside deployment ribbons from multiple theaters. When Drexler appeared, Harper's attention shifted to him with subtle recognition that most personnel wouldn't have noticed. But Rivers caught the brief moment of awareness that suggested previous familiarity rather than standard introduction between contractor and base commander. "What's the situation here?" Drexler's voice carried absolute authority as his eyes swept the operations center, taking in Harper's defiant posture, Morrison's obvious frustration, and the uncomfortable tension that had infected normal operational procedures. "Sir, this contractor has been providing unauthorized tactical analysis and undermining military command authority during active combat operations," Morrison reported with crisp military formality. Specifically, she's questioning command decisions regarding Ranger rescue operations and claiming knowledge of the Taliban tactical patterns that exceed her security clearance levels. Drexler studied Harper for several seconds, with the intensity of a commander who'd learned to recognize threats and assets that didn't fit conventional categories. But something in his expression suggested concern that extended beyond standard security protocol violations, an awareness that Harper's presence at FO Bravo might represent complications he'd hoped to avoid. "Miss Reed, what's your assessment of the current tactical situation?" Harper recognized the test for what it represented: an opportunity to demonstrate knowledge while avoiding revelation of capabilities that would compromise her civilian cover story. But Lieutenant Nash's increasingly desperate radio transmissions suggested that theoretical discussions about contractor authorization might become irrelevant if 24 Rangers died while their command structure debated procedural authorities. "Sir, Viper 6 is trapped in terrain that Taliban forces have used successfully against multiple American units. Without immediate fire support, they'll be overrun regardless of QRF arrival time. And you know how?" Harper hesitated for exactly 2 heartbeats, long enough for everyone present to notice the pause while she calculated how much truth she could reveal without triggering security investigations that would expose her true identity and mission status. "Pattern analysis based on available intelligence reports and current tactical indicators, sir." Drexler's expression suggested he recognized standard military evasion techniques when he heard them. Personnel with classified backgrounds used exactly those types of responses when operational security prevented detailed explanations of their knowledge sources or analytical capabilities. But Morrison wasn't satisfied with Harper's vague answers about intelligence analysis and tactical pattern recognition. "Colonel, she claims to have security clearance for intelligence reports that civilian contractors aren't authorized to access. Her explanations don't match standard contractor qualification requirements." "What specific clearance levels do you hold, Miss Reed?" Another pause, longer this time, as Harper weighed security protocol requirements against immediate operational necessities that demanded honest assessment of available capabilities and resources. "Sir, my clearance status involves classifications that prevent detailed discussion without appropriate authorization." The careful response confirmed Drexler's suspicions while avoiding direct acknowledgement that could violate security regulations. Harper's tactical knowledge and evasive answers suggested backgrounds that might require coordination with intelligence agencies or special operations commands before her true status could be officially discussed. Advanced tactical communication systems provide secure, encrypted connections across vast distances and challenging terrain conditions. Military-grade radio equipment integrates multiple frequency bands with data transmission capabilities essential for coordinating complex operations where civilian equipment would fail completely. These sophisticated platforms ensure critical information reaches decision-makers without compromise, featuring redundant systems and battlefield-hardened construction designed specifically for high-stress operational environments where communication failures mean mission failure. Captain Cole had been conducting discrete background research using military personnel databases, searching for information about Harper Reed that might explain her demonstrated knowledge of classified intelligence reports and tactical analysis capabilities. Her initial database queries revealed standard contractor employment records, but Deeper investigation suggested gaps and inconsistencies that indicated possible intelligence affiliation or special operations background. Colonel, there are irregularities in her personnel documentation. Standard contractor records exist, but certain employment periods are missing or classified above my access authority. Meaning what exactly? Meaning someone with appropriate classification levels has protected portions of her background information, which suggests either intelligence work or special operations affiliation that's been deliberately concealed. Drexler absorbed Cole's discovery while maintaining careful neutrality about Harper's possible classified status. Special mission assignments frequently required personnel to operate under civilian cover identities that prevented disclosure of their true capabilities even to senior military commanders, unless operational requirements demanded revelation. But Harper's attention had shifted to monitoring equipment, where new radio traffic indicated escalating crisis conditions that demanded immediate response regardless of administrative questions about her background or authorization levels. Nash's voice carried increasing desperation as Taliban assault preparations accelerated beyond manageable defensive capabilities. Bravo Control. Taliban forces have initiated coordinated probing attacks against our perimeter. We're observing movement indicating final assault preparation. Ammunition status is critical. We need immediate support, or this becomes a recovery operation. Harper looked directly at Drexler with an expression that combined professional assessment with personal urgency that suggested emotional investment extending beyond standard contractor concern for American casualties. Sir, without fire support, those Rangers will be dead within 20 minutes. What kind of fire support do you recommend? Long-range precision engagement from elevated positions overlooking the ambush site. Single shooter, surgical targeting of Taliban leadership and crew-served weapons. Morrison exploded with frustrated anger at Harper's continued tactical recommendations, despite repeated instructions to limit her involvement to equipment maintenance responsibilities. This is completely ridiculous. She's providing detailed military recommendations based on analysis she's not qualified to conduct, using intelligence she's not authorized to access. But Master Sergeant Rivers stepped forward with observations that challenged Morrison's assumptions about Harper's qualifications and background. Sir, Miss Reed's tactical analysis has been accurate, and her equipment handling demonstrates familiarity with military systems that exceed standard contractor training. Meaning what, Sergeant? Meaning whoever she really is, she knows what she's talking about. The implicit support from Rivers shifted the discussion's dynamic by introducing credible military assessment of Harper's demonstrated competence regardless of questions about her official documentation or authorization levels. His 30-year career provided authority that younger officers respected even when it challenged their personal opinions. Harper used the momentary shift in attention to access communication systems, with movements that revealed extensive familiarity with military encryption protocols and frequency management procedures that civilian contractors weren't trained to operate. Her hands moved across controls with practiced efficiency that indicated years of experience rather than recent technical training. "What are you doing?" Morrison demanded, moving to intercept her before she could implement whatever unauthorized procedures she'd begun. "Establishing direct communication with Viper 6 for real-time tactical coordination," Harper replied without breaking concentration on her equipment adjustments. "You're not authorized to communicate directly with combat units during active operations." But Harper had already accessed military communication channels that required security clearances well above civilian contractor levels, her movements demonstrating expertise with encryption systems and tactical radio protocols that took professional communications specialists years to master completely. "Viper 6, this is Overwatch," Harper spoke into the military headset with professional tone and tactical terminology that suggested extensive training in combat communication procedures. "Transmit your current perimeter configuration and enemy positions for fire support coordination." Nash's response carried surprise and relief in equal measure. "Overwatch, this is Viper 6 Actual. We weren't advised of sniper support availability. What's your call sign and unit designation?" Harper paused, understanding that direct questions about her identity and unit affiliation couldn't be answered without compromising security protocols that had protected her civilian cover for 18 months of contractor employment. "Viper 6, focus on immediate tactical requirements. Provide enemy position data for engagement prioritization." The professional evasion technique confirmed Nash's suspicions that he was communicating with someone whose background and capabilities extended beyond standard support personnel, but immediate survival requirements took precedence over administrative questions about authorization and command structure. Around the operations center, personnel had abandoned any pretense of focusing on their assigned duties, as they recognized they were witnessing something unprecedented in their professional experience. Harper's communication with Nash demonstrated tactical knowledge and military expertise that challenged fundamental assumptions about her identity and mission assignment. Morrison attempted to regain control of the situation through direct assertion of command authority. "Miss Reed, terminate that communication immediately. You're not authorized to coordinate with combat units or provide tactical advice during active operations." But Harper continued her communication with Nash while monitoring Taliban radio intercepts that revealed enemy assault timeline and tactical coordination that posed immediate threats to Ranger survival. Her ability to interpret enemy communications suggested language training and intelligence analysis capabilities that civilian contractors weren't expected to possess. "Colonel," Harper said, addressing Drexler while maintaining her communication with Nash, "Taliban radio traffic indicates assault commencement in 12 minutes. Standard defensive positions won't survive coordinated attacks by 70 fighters using prepared assault routes. How are you interpreting Taliban communications?" Cole demanded with obvious suspicion about Harper's demonstrated capabilities. "That requires specialized language training and signals intelligence analysis that civilian contractors don't receive." Harper looked up from her communication equipment with an expression that showed calculation about how much additional capability she could reveal without triggering security investigations that would compromise her mission status. "Captain, threat assessment requires understanding enemy communication patterns." But her ability to analyze Taliban radio traffic and predict assault timing suggested training that extended well beyond standard contractor qualifications into specialized intelligence analysis or special operations backgrounds that required years of advanced education and practical experience. Drexler stepped closer to Harper's position with expression that combined command authority with personal concern that suggested knowledge about her true identity that he hadn't shared with his subordinate officers. "Miss Reed, what specific support can you provide to Viper 6? The direct question demanded honest assessment of her capabilities despite security considerations that prevented detailed explanation of her background or training. Harper understood that continued evasion might result in Ranger casualties that could be prevented through immediate action, regardless of administrative complications. "Sir, I can provide precision long-range engagement from elevated positions with clear sight lines to Taliban assault formations." Morrison's laugh carried disbelief and genuine anger at Harper's continued claims about capabilities that exceeded anything her official documentation should have provided. "With what weapons? What training? What authorization? You're a civilian contractor, not a military sniper. The base weapons inventory includes precision rifle systems appropriate for long-range engagement," Harper replied with technical knowledge that demonstrated familiarity with military equipment, specifications, and operational requirements. "Miss Reed," Drexler said carefully, "precision shooting requires extensive specialized training that takes years to develop and constant practice to maintain." "Yes, sir, it does." The simple acknowledgement hung in the air, while everyone present absorbed the implications of Harper's response. She hadn't claimed to possess specialized training, but her recognition of training requirements suggested personal familiarity with precision shooting that extended beyond theoretical knowledge. "Are you starting to suspect Harper might be hiding some serious skills? The clues are building fast, and this story is about to take a massive turn. Hit that like button if you think there's way more to this maintenance tech than anyone realizes." Captain Cole had continued her background investigation using progressively higher security clearance levels, discovering information that raised additional questions about Harper's true identity and mission assignment. "Colonel, Miss Reed's security clearance documentation includes special access program annotations that I don't have authority to review." "What specific programs?" "TSSCI with SAP designations that require higher authorization than base command level. Top secret. Sensitive compartmented information clearances with special access program requirements indicated involvement in the most classified military operations available to American personnel. Civilian contractors with those security levels typically worked on projects that remained concealed from standard military commanders unless operational necessity demanded disclosure. Drexler realized that Harper's presence at FOB Bravo represented something far more complex than standard contractor employment. Personnel with TSSCI SAP clearances worked on operations that remained classified from base commanders unless specific mission requirements demanded coordination with local command authority. But before Drexler could pursue questions about Harper's clearance levels and mission assignment, new radio traffic from Nash indicated that Taliban assault preparations had accelerated beyond the 12-minute timeline Harper had predicted from enemy communications intercepts. Bravo Control, Taliban forces have initiated the final assault approach. We have approximately 70 fighters advancing on our perimeter from 3 directions. Effective small arms fire is our only defense against overwhelming numbers. Request immediate fire support or emergency extraction. Harper looked directly at Drexler with an expression that combined professional assessment with personal urgency. Sir, those Rangers have maybe 8 minutes before they're overrun. I can be in position to provide effective fire support in 6 minutes if you authorize immediate movement. Miss Reed, if you're wrong about your capabilities, 24 Rangers die anyway. If you're right, civilian contractor involvement in combat operations creates legal complications. Sir, legal complications are preferable to dead Rangers. The simple statement crystallized the ethical dimensions of their situation, while forcing Drexler to choose between procedural regulation compliance and immediate action to save American lives. His command experience included situations where conventional solutions proved inadequate and creative alternatives meant the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. Morrison made one final attempt to assert traditional command authority over what he perceived as a dangerous departure from established military protocol. Colonel, this is complete madness. We cannot authorize a civilian contractor to conduct combat operations without proper training, clearances, and command authorization. The legal and operational ramifications could end both our careers. Major Morrison, Drexler replied with quiet authority, ending our careers is preferable to explaining why we let Rangers die while we debated contractor authorization procedures. He looked directly at Harper, with expression showing the weight of command decisions that carried life-or-death consequences for personnel under his protection. Miss Reed, you have authorization to provide whatever support you can to Viper 6, but understand that if this goes wrong, we're both finished. Harper nodded once, acknowledging the gravity of his decision and the personal trust he'd placed in her unproven claims about capabilities that couldn't be verified through standard documentation. Thank you, sir. I won't let those Rangers down. She moved toward the equipment storage area with purposeful efficiency that suggested extensive familiarity with military facility layouts and procedures for accessing specialized equipment during emergency situations. Her knowledge of base infrastructure exceeded anything civilian contractor orientation should have provided. Morrison's voice carried across the operations center with frustrated authority that had been undermined by command decisions he couldn't prevent or reverse. Colonel, when this operation fails and Rangers die because of unauthorized personnel conducting operations they're not qualified for, the responsibility will be documented in official reports. But Harper had already disappeared into the weapons storage facility, leaving the operations center in tension-filled silence, while personnel monitored radio communications that would determine whether Drexler's unprecedented authorization would save American lives or compound an already tragic situation with additional complications. Inside weapons storage, Harper moved through organized military arsenal with familiarity that suggested extensive previous experience despite her civilian contractor status. Rifles arranged in perfect rows, ammunition sorted by caliber and application, optical equipment secured in climate-controlled cases. She navigated the facility with automatic efficiency that revealed training well beyond standard firearms familiarization. Master Sergeant Rivers appeared in the storage facility doorway, his expression combining curiosity with professional assessment of Harper's equipment selection procedures. 30 years of military service had taught her to recognize competence regardless of official credentials, and Harper's movements suggested capabilities that extended beyond civilian contractor qualifications. Miss Reed, that equipment requires specialized training for safe and effective employment. Harper looked up from her selection of precision rifle components, her hands continuing preparation procedures with practiced movements that suggested years of experience rather than recent training. "Sergeant, the equipment will be handled appropriately. Ma'am, with respect, precision shooting isn't something you learn from instruction manuals. It requires years of specialized training under professional instructors and constant practice to maintain proficiency levels." "I understand the requirements." Rivers studied her response, recognizing standard military communication techniques that personnel used when operational security prevented detailed explanation of their background or qualifications. Harper's evasive answers suggested legitimate training that she couldn't discuss due to classification restrictions. "Ma'am, where exactly did you receive instruction in precision rifle employment?" Harper considered how much information she could provide without violating security protocols that had protected her identity for 18 months of civilian contractor work. Around them, weapons storage represented American military investment in providing soldiers with the finest equipment available, but effectiveness depended entirely on user training and experience. Various military training facilities provided advanced instruction in precision shooting and tactical employment, she replied, selecting ammunition specifically designed for long-range accuracy while avoiding direct questions about specific locations or instructors. Rivers recognized the non-answer for what it represented, someone with legitimate credentials who couldn't discuss details for reasons related to classification levels or operational security requirements. His experience included working with personnel whose backgrounds remained officially undefined, but whose capabilities proved essential during crisis situations. "Ma'am, I don't know who you really are or what your actual qualifications might be," Rivers said quietly, "but those Rangers need help from someone who knows what they're doing." Harper completed her equipment preparation and faced Rivers with an expression that showed gratitude for his implicit support, despite obvious questions about her identity and background. "Thank you, Sergeant. I understand the responsibility." "Ma'am, one more thing. Major Morrison has contacted base security about intercepting you before you reach a firing position. You might want to consider alternate routes to avoid unnecessary confrontation." The warning carried implications that extended beyond immediate tactical considerations into questions about command authority and Morrison's willingness to interfere with operations that Colonel Drexler had officially authorized, despite his personal objections to civilian contractor involvement. "Understood. I appreciate the heads up." Harper exited weapons storage through emergency access that provided direct connection to base perimeter areas without requiring passage through main operational facilities, where Morrison might position security personnel to prevent her movement. Her knowledge of facility layout suggested either extensive reconnaissance or previous experience with military base navigation. The Afghan terrain stretched endlessly under afternoon sunlight that created heat distortions affecting optical clarity at extended ranges. Harper moved toward elevated positions with tactical awareness that indicated advanced training in field movement and camouflage techniques designed to avoid enemy detection during approach to shooting positions. Elite military contractors operating in classified environments require specialized insurance coverage extending far beyond standard civilian policies. Comprehensive liability protection designed for tactical operations provides complete financial security during sensitive missions and training exercises. Premium packages include equipment replacement, medical treatment, and legal representation essential for personnel operating in high-risk military capacities where conventional coverage would be completely inadequate for the unique challenges and exposures encountered in classified operational environments. Radio communications continued providing updates on Viper 6's deteriorating tactical situation as Taliban forces completed final assault preparations. Nash's voice carried controlled desperation as he reported increasing enemy pressure and declining ammunition supplies that placed his Rangers within minutes of being overwhelmed by numerically superior forces. "Bravo Control, we have Taliban fighters advancing to within 300 meters of our defensive perimeter. Effective small arms fire is keeping them suppressed temporarily, but our ammunition expenditure rate is unsustainable at current engagement levels. We need support immediately." Harper reached her selected observation position, a rocky outcropping that provided excellent sight lines toward the Taliban ambush site while offering concealment from enemy observation. The location required physical conditioning that civilian contractors weren't expected to maintain, but Harper's movement suggested endurance training that extended beyond standard fitness requirements. From her elevated position, the terrain where Nash's Rangers faced annihilation became clearly visible despite extreme range that challenged both optical equipment and human visual capabilities. Taliban fighters moved between prepared positions with tactical discipline that indicated experienced leadership and confidence in their numerical superiority. Through binoculars borrowed from base equipment inventory, Harper could observe Taliban assault formations positioning for coordinated attack that would overwhelm Ranger defensive capabilities within minutes. Enemy fighters displayed knowledge of terrain features and tactical coordination that suggested extensive planning and previous success against American forces. But detailed observation revealed information about Taliban positioning and assault timing that could provide American forces with tactical advantages if properly exploited. Harper's analysis identified specific vulnerabilities in enemy formations that precision engagement could exploit to disrupt coordinated assault operations. She established communication with Nash using equipment that provided secure transmission capabilities while monitoring Taliban radio traffic that revealed final assault coordination and timing. Her ability to interpret enemy communications suggested language training that civilian contractors weren't expected to possess. Viper 6, this is Overwatch. I have visual contact with your position and surrounding Taliban formations. Transmit your perimeter configuration for tactical coordination. Nash's response carried surprise mixed with relief as he recognized professional military communication, despite questions about Harper's official authorization and unit designation. Overwatch, this is Viper 6 Actual. We weren't notified of sniper support deployment. What's your unit and command authority? Harper understood that direct questions about her identity and mission assignment couldn't be answered without compromising security protocols that prevented revelation of classified operations or personnel assignments. Viper 6, immediate tactical requirements take precedence. Provide enemy position information for engagement planning. The professional evasion confirmed Nash's suspicions that he was communicating with someone whose background extended beyond standard support personnel, but survival requirements demanded acceptance of assistance, regardless of administrative questions about authorization or command structure. Around FOB Bravo, personnel monitored Harper's communication with increasing recognition that their maintenance contractor possessed capabilities that challenged fundamental assumptions about her identity and qualifications. Morrison continued his opposition, despite Drexler's authorization, arguing that civilian contractor involvement in combat operations violated numerous regulations, regardless of successful outcomes. Colonel, regardless of authorization you've provided, Miss Reed's involvement in direct combat operations creates legal precedents that could affect contractor employment throughout the theater. We're potentially looking at federal violations of military contracting regulations. But Captain Cole's continued investigation into Harper's background had revealed additional information that suggested her presence at FOB Bravo might involve classified mission assignments that superseded standard contractor employment relationships. Sir, her clearance documentation includes special access annotations that suggest possible intelligence or special operations affiliation, meaning what specifically? Meaning her contractor status might be covered for classified mission assignment that we haven't been informed about through normal command channels. Drexler absorbed Cole's assessment while monitoring Harper's tactical communication with Nash. Special operations personnel frequently operated under civilian cover identities for missions that required anonymity and deniability, but their true status typically remained concealed until operational requirements demanded revelation of their actual capabilities and authority. The possibility that Harper represented something beyond standard contractor employment raised questions about his own command authority and whether her mission assignment might supersede base commander decisions about tactical operations and personnel deployment. But immediate threats to Viper 6 demanded attention regardless of administrative questions about Harper's status or mission assignment. Taliban assault preparations had reached final stages that would result in Ranger casualties within minutes unless effective intervention disrupted enemy operations before coordinated attack could overwhelm American defensive capabilities. Harper's voice cut through communication traffic with tactical assessment that demonstrated detailed knowledge of Taliban capabilities and assault timing that could only have come from direct observation or intelligence sources that civilian contractors weren't supposed to access. Viper 6, Taliban assault will commence in approximately 4 minutes based on observed coordination signals. Your most immediate threat is machine gun position at grid November to 744, providing suppressive fire that prevents effective defensive movement. Nash acknowledged Harper's assessment while preparing his Rangers for final defensive action against overwhelming odds. Copy, Overwatch. Confirm Taliban machine gun position at November 744. Can you provide engagement support? Harper studied the tactical situation through her optical equipment, calculating ranges and environmental factors that would affect precision engagement at extreme distances where atmospheric conditions could influence accuracy despite perfect initial aim. The machine gun position represented an immediate threat to Ranger survival, but required engagement at ranges that challenged both equipment capabilities and human skill. Viper 6, I can provide precision engagement against Taliban machine gun positions, but you need to keep your people's heads down during target elimination. Copy, Overwatch. All Viper elements, take cover and stay down for sniper engagement. Around FOB Bravo, personnel monitored radio traffic that suggested Harper was preparing to attempt precision shooting at ranges that would challenge the military's best-trained snipers. Morrison continued protesting her involvement, despite Drexler's authorization, while Cole's investigation revealed increasingly classified information about Harper's background that suggested capabilities extending beyond civilian contractor qualifications. But questions about Harper's identity and authorization would be resolved through her performance rather than administrative investigation. In approximately 3 minutes, she would demonstrate whether her claims about precision shooting capabilities were legitimate or whether Drexler had authorized a tragic mistake that would result in additional American casualties. The radio crackled as Nash provided final confirmation of Taliban assault preparations. Overwatch. Enemy forces are moving to final assault positions. We're observing coordinated movement, indicating attack initiation within minutes. Whatever you can do, we need it now. Harper settled into a shooting position with movements that suggested extensive training in precision rifle employment, despite questions about her civilian contractor background. Her preparation included environmental assessment and ballistic calculation that required years of specialized education to perform accurately under combat stress. Professional tactical training academies offer specialized education in precision shooting, combat medicine, and operational planning unavailable through civilian institutions. Advanced certification programs designed by former special operations personnel provide hands-on experience with equipment and techniques used in actual combat situations. Comprehensive curricula prepare students for careers in military, law enforcement, and private security sectors, where conventional training would be insufficient for the complex operational challenges encountered in modern security environments. Through her rifle scope, Taliban positions became clearly defined despite extreme range that required precise optical adjustment and environmental compensation. Enemy fighters moved with confidence that suggested they expected their assault to succeed without effective American resistance, unaware that precision engagement capability had been positioned to disrupt their carefully planned operation. Harper controlled her breathing while calculating wind speed, atmospheric pressure, and target movement patterns that would affect bullet trajectory over nearly 2,000 meters of flight distance. The mathematical precision required for successful engagement at such ranges demanded training that took years to develop and constant practice to maintain. But before she could attempt her first shot, radio traffic indicated that a Taliban assault had commenced ahead of the predicted timeline. Nash's voice carried immediate urgency as his Rangers faced coordinated attack by 70 enemy fighters advancing from multiple directions with tactical coordination that suggested extensive planning and preparation. Overwatch, Taliban assault has begun. We're taking effective fire from multiple positions. The machine gun at November 744 is keeping us pinned down. We need that target eliminated immediately. Harper acquired the Taliban machine gun position through her rifle scope, while calculating the precise environmental compensation required for successful engagement at maximum effective range. Her training and experience would be tested under combat conditions, where failure meant American deaths and success would reveal capabilities that civilian contractors weren't supposed to possess. Around FOB Bravo, personnel waited for radio confirmation that would determine whether Drexler's unprecedented authorization had saved Ranger lives or whether Harper's claims about precision shooting had been tragic overconfidence that resulted in additional American casualties during Taliban assault operations. The moment of truth had arrived for Harper Reed, maintenance contractor turned precision shooter, whose true identity remained classified under security protocols that had protected her civilian cover for 18 months of anonymous service, at a forward operating base where nobody suspected that the woman fixing their communication equipment had once been considered the finest long-range marksman in American special operations history. In 30 seconds, everyone at Phobie Bravo would begin discovering exactly who Harper Reed really was, and why her presence at their base represented something far more significant than standard contractor employment. The first shot would shatter more than just Taliban assault coordination. It would begin the revelation of identity that would transform understanding of capability, authority, and mission assignment that extended well beyond anything standard military procedures could explain or contain. 24 Rangers' lives hung in the balance, and Harper Reed was about to remind the world why her real name had once been spoken with reverence and fear in every special operations community across 3 continents. The maintenance contractor was about to disappear forever, replaced by someone whose true identity they would change everything about how Phobie Bravo understood the nature of the war they were fighting, and the people who fought it, in shadow and silence. The wind had stopped completely, creating perfect conditions for the impossible shot that would save American lives and expose the truth about who Harper Reed really was. Her finger moved to the trigger as Taliban forces advanced toward Rangers who didn't know that salvation was about to arrive from nearly 2 kilometers away, delivered by someone they'd dismissed as irrelevant, but who was about to prove that heroes didn't always announce themselves. Sometimes they just fixed communication equipment and waited for the moment when their true capabilities became the difference between life and death for people who deserved to come home alive. The shot that would change everything was one trigger pull away from shattering every assumption about identity, capability, and the price of underestimating someone based on their job title rather than their true qualifications. Harper Reed, maintenance contractor, was about to become legend again, whether she wanted that exposure or not. Harper's finger found the trigger as the wind died to absolute stillness across the Afghan valley. Through her scope, the Taliban machine gun position became crystal clear at 1,847 meters, an impossible distance for most shooters. But Harper Reed had spent 8 years learning to make impossible shots routine. The trigger broke clean and smooth. The rifle's suppressor reduced the shot to a heavy cough that wouldn't betray her position to enemy forces nearly 2 kilometers away. For exactly 2.3 seconds, the bullet traveled through thin mountain air while 24 Rangers waited for salvation they couldn't see coming. The Taliban machine gunner dropped like someone had cut his strings. His weapon fell silent mid-burst, creating sudden quiet that allowed Rangers to move from positions where they'd been pinned down by accurate suppressive fire. Through her scope, Harper watched enemy fighters scatter in confusion as their tactical advantage evaporated with a single precision shot from an unknown direction. "Holy cow! Overwatch!" Nash's voice exploded across radio frequencies with amazement and relief. "Confirmed hit on Taliban machine gun position. How did you make that shot?" Harper was already acquiring secondary targets through her scope, tracking Taliban fighters who'd exposed themselves while attempting to understand where precision fire was originating. Her second shot eliminated a Taliban leader trying to coordinate assault teams, further disrupting enemy operations through targeted removal of command personnel. Viper 6, maintain defensive positions and identify additional priority targets. I can provide continued fire support until QRF arrives. Around Phobie Bravo, personnel monitoring radio communications absorbed the implications of Harper's shooting performance with growing recognition that their maintenance contractor had just demonstrated capabilities that challenged military understanding of civilian qualifications and training backgrounds. Morrison stared at communication equipment, where Nash's reports confirmed precision shooting at ranges that would challenge the military's most elite snipers. "Colonel, whoever she really is, she just made shots that most of our trained snipers couldn't achieve under perfect conditions." But Captain Cole's investigation into Harper's background had revealed additional classified information that suggested possible explanations for her demonstrated expertise. "Sir, I'm finding references to special access programs that I don't have authorization to review. Her clearance levels extend well beyond anything standard contractor positions require." Drexler studied Cole's computer terminal, where Harper's security documentation displayed classification markings that indicated involvement in operations remaining concealed from base command authority. Personnel with such clearance levels typically worked on projects that couldn't be discussed without specific authorization from intelligence agencies or special operations commands. What specific programs are referenced in her documentation? TSSCI with multiple SAP annotations that require higher authority than base level for access. But, Colonel, there's something else. Her assignment orders to this base came through channels that bypass normal contractor coordination procedures. The revelation that Harper's employment at FA Bravo hadn't followed standard contractor assignment protocols suggested mission requirements that extended beyond routine maintenance work into operations that remained classified from local command authority. Drexler realized he might have been dealing with someone whose actual mission superseded his own command decisions. But before administrative questions about Harper's status could be pursued further, radio traffic indicated Taliban forces were adapting to precision fire by dispersing into smaller groups that presented more challenging targets while maintaining assault pressure against Ranger defensive positions. Overwatch. Taliban fighters are breaking into squad-sized elements and advancing through terrain that provides concealment from your position, Nash reported with continued urgency. We're still taking effective fire from multiple directions. Harper shifted her scope across the battlefield, identifying Taliban fighters using natural terrain features to approach Ranger positions while avoiding exposure to long-range precision fire. The enemy's tactical adaptation demonstrated experienced leadership that understood how to counter sniper threats through movement and positioning. Her third shot eliminated a Taliban squad leader attempting to coordinate flanking movement against the Rangers' eastern perimeter. The precision engagement at extreme range while targeting moving personnel through partial concealment demonstrated shooting skills that exceeded anything standard military training produced. Confirmed hit on Taliban squad leader Eastern Approach, Harper reported, while tracking additional targets. Enemy forces are adapting to precision fire but maintaining assault pressure. Master Sergeant Rivers had been monitoring Harper's radio communications with professional recognition that her tactical terminology and target engagement procedures indicated training far beyond civilian contractor qualifications. Colonel, her communication protocols and target prioritization suggest advanced military instruction. Meaning what, specifically? Meaning she's using tactical language and engagement procedures that special operations snipers employ during precision fire support operations. Civilian contractors don't receive that level of tactical training. Around the operations center, personnel had abandoned the pretense of focusing on assigned duties as they recognized they were witnessing unprecedented demonstration of capabilities that civilian contractors weren't supposed to possess. Harper's shooting performance had become legendary within minutes of her first impossible shot. But questions about her training and background took secondary priority to immediate tactical requirements as Taliban forces continued coordinated assault, despite precision fire that had eliminated key personnel and disrupted their original tactical plan. Harper's fourth shot eliminated Taliban fighters attempting to employ recoilless rifles against Ranger positions, a target that required split-second timing to engage crew-served weapons before they could fire effectively against American defensive positions. Her ability to identify priority targets and engage them under time pressure demonstrated combat experience that extended beyond training into actual operational deployment. Overwatch. That was the Taliban anti-tank team. Nash's voice carried pure amazement at Harper's target identification and engagement timing. They were setting up to eliminate our fighting positions. How did you identify that threat so quickly? Harper continued scanning for additional targets while recognizing that her demonstrated capabilities had exceeded anything she could explain without compromising security protocols that protected her true identity. Viper 6, maintain defensive fire and prepare for QRF link-up. Taliban assault momentum is broken. The tactical situation had shifted dramatically within 15 minutes of Harper's initial shot. Enemy forces found themselves receiving precision fire from unknown positions at ranges where they'd previously felt secure, their numerical advantage partially negated by accurate shooting that eliminated key personnel and crew-served weapons. Back at FOB Bravo, Colonel Drexler received radio communication from QRF Commander Captain Marcus Webb, reporting visual contact with Rangers' defensive positions and preparation for tactical link-up that would extract Nash's team from Taliban ambush site. Bravo Control, this is QRF Actual. We have visual contact with Viper 6 and are moving to link up for extraction. Unknown sniper support has neutralized Taliban assault capabilities. Outstanding shooting. Those Rangers owe their lives to precision fire support. Morrison turned to Drexler, with expression that combined relief at successful Ranger rescue with concern about Harper's demonstrated capabilities that raised serious questions about her true identity and mission assignment. Colonel, civilian contractors don't possess shooting skills that exceed our best-trained military snipers. We need to determine who she really is. But Captain Cole's continued investigation had revealed information that suggested Harper's presence at FOB Bravo involved classified assignments that might explain her exceptional capabilities without revealing sensitive operational details. Sir, her assignment documentation includes references to special mission requirements that I can't access without higher authorization. Special mission requirements covering what specific operations? The references are classified above my clearance level, but they suggest possible intelligence or special operations affiliation that would explain advanced tactical training and precision shooting capabilities. Drexler absorbed Cole's discoveries while understanding that Harper's success in saving Ranger lives had created administrative complications regarding civilian contractor involvement in direct combat operations. Her shooting performance exceeded military regulation definitions of contractor support roles while potentially violating federal restrictions on civilian participation in combat activities. Advanced tactical communication systems provide secure, encrypted connections across vast distances and challenging terrain conditions. Military-grade radio equipment integrates multiple frequency bands with data transmission capabilities essential for coordinating complex operations, where civilian equipment would fail completely. These sophisticated platforms ensure critical information reaches decision-makers without compromise, featuring redundant systems and battlefield-hardened construction, designed specifically for high-stress operational environments where communication failures mean mission failure. 20 minutes after Harper's first shot, QRF vehicles reached Nash's position and began coordinated extraction procedures that would bring all surviving Rangers back to FOB Bravo for medical attention and tactical debriefing. Her precision fire support had prevented Taliban assault from achieving tactical success, saving American lives through shooting that challenged understanding of civilian contractor capabilities. Overwatch, this is Viper 6, Nash transmitted with obvious gratitude and curiosity about Harper's identity. All Rangers are secure and preparing for extraction. Your fire support saved our lives. What's your actual unit designation and background? Harper understood that direct questions about her identity couldn't be answered without compromising security protocols that had protected her civilian cover for 18 months of contractor employment. Viper 6, glad you're coming home safe. Overwatch out. The professional termination of communication avoided revealing sensitive information while maintaining operational security that protected both her identity and potential ongoing mission requirements. But her evasive response confirmed Nash's suspicions that he'd been supported by someone whose background extended far beyond standard military support personnel. Harper began extraction from her shooting position, disassembling equipment with practiced efficiency while monitoring Taliban radio traffic that indicated enemy forces were withdrawing from the area after suffering casualties that disrupted their assault capabilities. Her ability to interpret enemy communications continued demonstrating language training that civilian contractors weren't expected to possess. The movement back toward FOB Bravo provided time for reflection on events that had shattered her carefully maintained civilian cover story. 18 months of anonymous maintenance work had ended the moment she'd picked up a rifle to save American lives, revealing capabilities that would inevitably attract official investigation into her true background and mission assignment. Her return to base would mark the beginning of an administrative review that could expose classified information about operations and personnel that remained protected under national security protocols. The success of her intervention had created complications that extended beyond immediate tactical considerations into questions about authority, identity, and mission assignment that couldn't be easily resolved through standard military procedures. Back at FOB Bravo, Morrison and Drexler prepared for Harper's return, with expressions that combined relief at successful Ranger extraction with concern about security implications of her demonstrated capabilities. Her shooting performance had exceeded military understanding of civilian contractor qualifications while raising fundamental questions about her actual identity and mission status. Colonel, regardless of successful outcome, we have civilian contractors who just conducted unauthorized combat operations using capabilities that suggest classified background we weren't informed about through normal command channels. Captain Cole approached with additional information from her investigation that revealed Harper's contractor assignment had bypassed standard verification procedures through special authorization that suggested intelligence or special operations involvement. Sir, her employment documentation includes approval codes that indicate special mission assignment rather than routine contractor hiring. Meaning what exactly? Meaning someone with significant authority placed her at this base for reasons that extend beyond standard maintenance work. Her contractor status might be covered for classified mission assignments that we haven't been briefed about. Drexler studied Cole's evidence while recognizing that Harper's presence at Phobe Bravo might involve operations that remain concealed from base command, unless specific circumstances demanded revelation of her true status and capabilities. Special mission personnel frequently operated under civilian cover identities that prevented disclosure even to senior military officers. But questions about Harper's mission assignment would require coordination with higher authorities who possessed clearance levels necessary to access her actual documentation and operational requirements. Base-level investigation might compromise security protocols that protected ongoing operations extending beyond local tactical considerations. 30 minutes after her final shot, Harper entered a Phobe Bravo through perimeter access that avoided main facility areas where personnel might gather to observe her return. Her knowledge of base layout continued demonstrating familiarity that exceeded standard contractor orientation while suggesting previous experience with military facility navigation. But avoiding immediate confrontation proved impossible, as Morrison and Cole waited near equipment storage areas where Harper would return weapons and gear used during her precision fire support mission. Their expressions indicated preparation for official questioning about her background and capabilities that couldn't be explained through routine contractor documentation. Miss Reed, we need immediate debriefing regarding your shooting performance and tactical capabilities, Morrison announced with authority, intended to establish command control over administrative review of her involvement in combat operations. Harper set down equipment and faced assembled officers with composure that suggested extensive experience in high-pressure debriefing situations where sensitive information required careful protection despite official demands for explanation. Sir, 24 Rangers are alive and returning to base. Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished using capabilities that civilian contractors aren't supposed to possess, according to official documentation and qualification standards. Captain Cole stepped forward with evidence from her background investigation that revealed discrepancies in Harper's employment records, suggesting deliberate concealment of sensitive information. Miss Reed, your contractor assignment includes classification markings that indicate special mission requirements. We need an explanation about your actual status and mission assignment. Harper recognized standard military investigation techniques designed to elicit information about classified operations through persistent questioning and administrative pressure. Her training in operational security provided methods for protecting sensitive information while avoiding direct confrontation with legitimate authority. Captain, certain aspects of my assignment involve security protocols that prevent detailed discussion without appropriate authorization from higher command authority. The careful response confirmed Cole's suspicions about Harper's classified status while avoiding direct acknowledgement that could violate security regulations, protecting ongoing operations or personnel assignments. Military personnel used exactly those communication techniques when classification requirements prevented full disclosure of sensitive information. But Morrison wasn't satisfied with Harper's evasive answers about her background and mission assignment. Miss Reed, your shooting performance exceeded capabilities that most military snipers achieve after years of specialized training. Civilian contractors don't develop those skills through equipment maintenance work. Sir, I received appropriate training for assigned mission requirements. What specific training? What facilities? What instructors? What mission requirements justify precision shooting training for civilian maintenance contractors? Harper understood that Morrison's questions demanded specific answers that she couldn't provide without compromising security protocols that had protected her identity and mission status for 18 months of civilian contractor work. Continued evasion might trigger formal security investigation that could expose classified operations extending beyond local base activities. Around the equipment storage area, additional personnel had gathered as word spread about Harper's impossible shooting performance and successful Ranger rescue. Master Sergeant Rivers, Specialist Cash Brennan, and Corporal Quinn Steele watched with obvious curiosity about the maintenance contractor who demonstrated military capabilities that challenged understanding of civilian qualifications. But before Harper could formulate responses that protected classified information while satisfying legitimate command inquiry, radio communication from extracted Rangers provided additional perspective on her shooting performance that suggested capabilities exceeding anything standard military training produced. Bravo Control, this is Viper 6 Actual, Nash transmitted from QRF vehicles approaching the base perimeter. Request permission to speak directly with a sniper who provided fire support. Those shots saved our lives, and we want to express appreciation personally. Morrison keyed his microphone with obvious reluctance to facilitate communication between Rangers and Harper, whose true identity remained officially undetermined despite her successful tactical intervention. Viper 6, stand by for coordination with support personnel. But Harper stepped forward to accept direct communication with Nash before Morrison could establish administrative control over their interaction. A Viper 6, this is Overwatch. Glad you're coming home safe. Overwatch, I need to know who you are. Those shots were impossible for anyone except the most elite snipers in our military. What's your unit and background? The direct question from grateful Rangers created emotional pressure that challenged Harper's commitment to maintaining operational security despite personal desire to accept recognition for successful mission accomplishment. Years of training in classified operations had taught her to value mission success over personal acknowledgement, but Nash's gratitude made concealment increasingly difficult. Viper 6, just someone who was in the right place when you needed help. Negative Overwatch, nobody makes those shots without years of specialized training and extensive combat experience. You saved 24 American lives with a shooting that most snipers couldn't achieve under perfect conditions. Around equipment storage, personnel absorbed Nash's assessment of Harper's shooting performance, with growing recognition that their maintenance contractor possessed capabilities that suggested backgrounds extending well beyond civilian qualifications into elite military training that few personnel ever received. Morrison attempted to regain control over the developing situation through assertion of command authority over communication between Harper and extracted Rangers. Miss Reed, terminate that communication and report for official debriefing regarding your involvement in unauthorized combat operations. But Harper maintained communication with Nash while understanding that her successful intervention had created complications that extended beyond immediate tactical considerations into administrative questions about authority, identity, and mission assignment that couldn't be resolved through standard base-level procedures. Viper 6, your extraction is complete and all personnel are safe. That's what matters. Nash's response carried determination to discover Harper's identity, despite her obvious reluctance to provide detailed information about her background or qualifications. Overwatch, we're going to find out who you are and make sure you receive appropriate recognition for saving our lives. Holy cow, did you see that shot coming? But trust me, we're nowhere near done with this incredible story. If you're as stunned as I am right now, smash that subscribe button, because what comes next will absolutely blow your mind. The radio communication terminated as QRF vehicles reached FOB Bravo perimeter and began unloading Rangers who'd survived Taliban ambush through Harper's precision fire support. Their arrival would bring first-hand testimony about her shooting performance that confirmed capabilities exceeding standard military sniper training, while raising additional questions about her true identity and background. Colonel Drexler approached Harper's position with an expression that combined command authority with personal concern about security implications of her demonstrated capabilities. His experience included situations where special mission personnel operated under civilian cover identities that prevented disclosure unless operational requirements demanded revelation of their true status. Miss Reed, we need private discussion about your background and mission assignment before Rangers arrive for debriefing. Harper recognized Drexler's attempt to control information flow regarding her identity while protecting potential classified operations that might be compromised through detailed investigation of her capabilities and training. But 18 months of maintaining civilian cover had ended with her decision to save American lives, making continued concealment increasingly difficult. Sir, I understand the security concerns. Do you? Because your shooting performance has created administrative complications that extend beyond base command authority into intelligence and special operations oversight that could affect multiple ongoing operations. The statement confirmed Harper's suspicions that Drexler possessed knowledge about her true status that he hadn't shared with subordinate officers, despite their obvious questions about her background and qualifications. His concern about affecting multiple ongoing operations suggested awareness of classified activities that remained concealed from standard base personnel. Around equipment storage, Morrison continued demanding answers about Harper's capabilities, while Cole pursued investigation into her assignment documentation that revealed increasingly classified information requiring higher authorization to access completely. Their administrative pressure created tension that threatened to compromise operational security, protecting sensitive mission requirements. But before Harper could respond to Drexler's concerns about security implications, new developments indicated that Taliban forces were planning retaliation operations in response to their failed ambush and successful American rescue mission. Radio intercepts suggested coordinated attacks against FOB Bravo, designed to eliminate personnel responsible for disrupting their tactical operations. Cash Brennan, monitoring enemy communication frequencies, approached with intelligence that indicated immediate threats to base security from Taliban forces seeking revenge for their tactical failure. Colonel, we're intercepting Taliban radio traffic indicating retaliatory operations targeting this base tonight. Specific threats? Approximately 150 fighters coordinating attack against perimeter defenses with special emphasis on eliminating snipers who provided fire support to extracted Rangers. The intelligence confirmed that Harper's successful intervention had triggered Taliban leadership decisions to escalate operations against FOB Bravo in retaliation for precision fire that had saved American lives while eliminating key enemy personnel. Her tactical success had potentially exposed the entire base to increased danger from enemy forces seeking revenge. Morrison studied intelligence displays showing Taliban movement patterns that indicated coordinated assault preparation during darkness hours when American technological advantages would be reduced through limited visibility, and electronic warfare capabilities that enemy forces had developed during years of fighting American technology. Colonel, if the Taliban are specifically targeting our sniper, Miss Reed's continued presence at this base creates additional security risks for all personnel. But Harper's analysis of enemy communication intercepts revealed tactical information that suggested Taliban assault plans included vulnerabilities that could be exploited through proper defensive preparation and tactical coordination. Her ability to interpret enemy communications continued demonstrating language training that civilian contractors weren't expected to possess. Sir, Taliban assault plan includes approaches through sectors where previous American operations have established defensive advantages. They're planning coordinated attack, but using routes that can be covered by existing defensive positions if properly coordinated. Drexler studied Harper's tactical analysis while recognizing that her ability to predict enemy operations and identify defensive opportunities suggested training that extended well beyond civilian contractor qualifications into specialized intelligence analysis or special operations planning. Miss Reed, how are you interpreting Taliban communications and predicting their tactical intentions? Harper paused before responding, understanding that her intelligence analysis capabilities represented another layer of expertise that civilian contractors weren't supposed to possess according to official documentation and standard qualification requirements. Continued demonstration of advanced capabilities made maintaining her civilian cover increasingly impossible. Sir, threat assessment requires understanding enemy communication patterns and tactical preferences based on historical operational analysis. But her ability to analyze Taliban radio intercepts and predict assault coordination suggested training that took years to develop through specialized intelligence or special operations education that remained classified from standard military personnel unless operational requirements demanded coordination with higher authorities. Captain Cole had continued investigating Harper's background using progressively higher clearance levels, discovering information that raised fundamental questions about her actual identity and mission assignment at FOB Bravo. Colonel, Miss Reed's security documentation includes special access program designations that require intelligence community authorization to review. What specific intelligence programs? Classifications that suggest possible CIA or special operations affiliation that would explain her tactical capabilities and language training. The revelation that Harper's clearance levels might indicate intelligence community involvement shifted discussion from routine contractor oversight into questions about special mission assignments that could remain concealed from military command authority unless operational requirements demanded disclosure of her true status and capabilities. Elite military contractors operating in classified environments require specialized insurance coverage extending far beyond standard civilian policies. Comprehensive liability protection designed for tactical operations provides complete financial security during sensitive missions and training exercises. Premium packages include equipment replacement, medical treatment, and legal representation essential for personnel operating in high-risk military capacities, where conventional coverage would be completely inadequate for the unique challenges and exposures encountered in classified operational environments. Around equipment storage, Rangers from the extracted Viper 6 team had begun arriving at Phobe Bravo with first-hand testimony about Harper's shooting performance that confirmed precision engagement at ranges exceeding standard military sniper capabilities. Their reports would provide detailed evidence of her tactical expertise that challenged understanding of civilian contractor qualifications. Lieutenant Nash appeared at equipment storage with obvious determination to identify Harper and express gratitude for fire support that had saved his Rangers from certain death during the Taliban ambush. His presence created additional pressure for Harper to acknowledge her role in successful rescue operations, despite security concerns about revealing her true capabilities. Ma'am, I need to know who you are so I can ensure you receive appropriate recognition for saving 24 American lives. Harper faced Nash with an expression that showed appreciation for his gratitude, while recognizing that official recognition would require revelation of identity and capabilities that might compromise ongoing security requirements. Lieutenant, seeing you and your Rangers come home safe is all the recognition I need. Ma'am, with respect, that's not sufficient. Your shooting performance exceeded anything I've witnessed during multiple combat deployments. You made impossible shots under extreme conditions that saved American lives when conventional rescue operations couldn't reach us. Nash's testimony confirmed Harper's exceptional capabilities while creating emotional pressure from grateful personnel that challenged her commitment to maintaining operational security despite successful mission accomplishment. Military culture valued recognition of heroic action, but special operations frequently required anonymous service that prevented public acknowledgement. Morrison stepped forward to assert command authority over interaction between Harper and extracted Rangers whose gratitude might interfere with official investigation of her background and capabilities. Lieutenant Nash, Miss Reed will receive appropriate debriefing regarding her involvement in your extraction. Your Rangers should report for medical evaluation and tactical debriefing. But Nash wasn't satisfied with Morrison's administrative response to his request for information about Harper's identity and background. Sir, whoever she really is, she saved our lives with a shooting that proves elite special operations training. We deserve to know who provided that level of professional support. Around equipment storage, additional Rangers had gathered with obvious curiosity about Harper's identity and desire to express personal gratitude for precision fire that had broken Taliban assault and enabled their successful extraction. Their presence created growing pressure for official acknowledgement of her role in saving American lives. Corporal Quinn Steele, the young medic whose training had included instruction about various special operations capabilities, studied Harper with growing recognition that her tactical knowledge and equipment handling suggested backgrounds extending beyond civilian contractor qualifications. Ma'am, your communication protocols and target engagement procedures match special operations sniper training that we studied during advanced medical courses. What specific training materials reference those procedures? Harper asked, curious about how much operational methodology had been included in standard military education programs. DevGru tactical manuals and SEAL Team 6 operational case studies that included precision engagement techniques for extreme range shooting. The reference to DevGru and SEAL Team 6 created absolute silence around equipment storage, as personnel absorbed implications of Steele's comparison between Harper's demonstrated capabilities and the most elite special operations units in American military history. Her tactical performance matched training methodologies that few personnel ever received. Morrison realized that discussion of DevGru operations and SEAL Team 6 capabilities had introduced classified information into conversation about Harper's background that could compromise operational security, protecting ongoing special operations activities. Corporal Steele, terminate discussion of Special Operations Unit capabilities immediately. But damage had been done through introduction of specific unit references that suggested a possible connection between Harper's capabilities and the most classified special operations training available to American personnel. Her demonstrated expertise matched methodologies that remain concealed from standard military education, except through specialized exposure to elite unit operations. Captain Cole approached with additional information from her investigation that revealed Harper's assignment documentation included approval codes typically associated with Special Operations Command, rather than standard contractor employment procedures. Colonel, her employment authorization came through SOCOM channels rather than normal contractor coordination processes. Special Operations Command authorization for civilian contractor assignment? Yes, sir, which suggests mission requirements that extend beyond routine maintenance work into operations that require special operations oversight and approval. The revelation that Harper's assignment had been coordinated through Special Operations Command rather than standard contractor hiring procedures confirmed suspicions that her presence at FOB Bravo involved classified mission requirements that remained concealed from base command authority unless operational circumstances demanded disclosure. Drexler studied Cole's evidence while understanding that Harper's shooting performance and tactical capabilities suggested backgrounds that might require coordination with Special Operations leadership before her true status could be officially acknowledged or discussed through normal military channels. But before administrative questions about Harper's mission assignment could be pursued further, Cash Brennan's monitoring of Taliban communications revealed immediate threats that demanded tactical response, regardless of security concerns about revealing Harper's identity or capabilities. Colonel, Taliban assault teams are moving into final approach positions. Attack commencement estimated within 30 minutes based on intercepted coordination signals. The intelligence indicated that Taliban retaliation operations had progressed beyond planning into active execution that threatened all FOB Bravo personnel with coordinated assault designed to overwhelm defensive capabilities through numerical superiority and tactical surprise during darkness operations. Harper studied intelligence displays showing Taliban movement patterns while recognizing that base defensive preparations might require her tactical expertise to coordinate effective resistance against enemy assault operations. Her knowledge of Taliban capabilities and assault methodologies could prove essential for successful defense. Sir, Taliban assault plan includes simultaneous attacks against 3 perimeter sectors designed to overwhelm defensive coordination through dispersed engagement requirements. Standard defensive positions can counter the assault if properly coordinated with supporting fires. Morrison challenged Harper's continued provision of tactical analysis despite ongoing questions about her authorization to participate in military operational planning. Ms. Reed, you're not qualified to coordinate base defense operations regardless of your demonstrated shooting capabilities. But Master Sergeant Rivers stepped forward with support for Harper's tactical assessment based on recognition that her analysis had proven accurate during previous crisis situations. Sir, Ms. Reed's tactical predictions have been correct about enemy operations. Her input might be valuable for defensive planning. Rivers's endorsement carried weight from 30 years of military experience that included multiple combat deployments and proven ability to recognize tactical competence regardless of official credentials or documentation. His support provided Harper with credibility that challenged Morrison's opposition to her involvement in defensive coordination. Around equipment storage, personnel absorbed the developing confrontation between Morrison's adherence to regulation compliance and recognition that Harper's capabilities might be essential for surviving Taliban assault operations that threatened everyone at FOB Bravo regardless of their official status or mission assignment. But Harper's attention had shifted to monitoring equipment where Taliban communication intercepts revealed specific assault timing and coordination that provided American forces with tactical intelligence that could be exploited through proper defensive preparation and supporting fire coordination. Sir, Taliban assault coordination indicates attack initiation in approximately 25 minutes. Enemy forces are using established approach routes that can be covered by existing defensive positions if coordinated properly. Drexler studied Harper's analysis while recognizing that her tactical assessment might represent critical intelligence for defensive operations that would determine whether FOB Bravo survived Taliban retaliation with minimal casualties or faced catastrophic assault that could overwhelm base defensive capabilities. Ms. Reed, what specific defensive recommendations do you propose? Harper moved to tactical displays showing base perimeter configuration while identifying Taliban approach routes and optimal defensive coordination that could exploit enemy vulnerabilities during their assault operations. Her analysis demonstrated tactical expertise that extended beyond intelligence interpretation into operational planning that few personnel possessed. Sir, Taliban assault includes 3 coordinated attacks designed to overwhelm perimeter defenses through simultaneous engagement from multiple directions. Their approach routes include natural choke points where defensive fires can achieve maximum effectiveness against advancing formations. But before Harper could complete her tactical briefing, new radio communication from Taliban intercepts revealed information that created immediate security concerns about enemy intelligence capabilities and potential compromise of American operational planning through sources that remained unidentified. Colonel, Cash Brennan announced with obvious concern, Taliban communications include detailed information about base defensive arrangements and personnel assignments that suggest intelligence sources inside American operations. The revelation that Taliban forces possessed detailed knowledge about FOB Bravo's defensive capabilities and personnel assignments indicated a security compromise that could explain their confidence in assault operations against well-defended American installations. Enemy intelligence suggested insider information that remained undetected through normal security procedures. Morrison studied intelligence intercepts while recognizing that Taliban operational knowledge indicated security breaches that threatened all base personnel through compromise of defensive planning and personnel information that enemies could exploit during assault operations. How could Taliban forces obtain detailed intelligence about our defensive arrangements and personnel assignments? Harper reviewed intercepted communications while identifying specific information that Taliban forces shouldn't possess, unless they'd received intelligence from sources with access to classified American operational planning and security protocols. Her analysis revealed counterintelligence concerns that extended beyond immediate tactical considerations. Sir, Taliban communication includes information about defensive sector assignments, weapon emplacement locations, and personnel rotation schedules that indicate access to classified operational orders and security planning. The assessment confirmed the existence of a security compromise that had provided enemy forces with intelligence advantages that could prove decisive during assault operations, designed to exploit specific vulnerabilities in American defensive arrangements and personnel deployment. But identification of the security breach raised questions about personnel with access to classified information, who might have compromised American operational security through deliberate or inadvertent disclosure to enemy forces seeking tactical advantages against FOB Bravo defensive capabilities. Captain Cole reviewed personnel access logs while searching for individuals with authorization to review classified information that appeared in Taliban communication intercepts. Her investigation would determine who possessed knowledge about defensive arrangements that had been compromised through unknown sources. Colonel, access to the information Taliban forces possess requires clearance levels that only senior staff and operational commanders maintain. How many personnel have access to classified defensive planning and personnel assignment information? Approximately 12 individuals, including base command staff, operational coordinators, and senior non-commissioned officers with security clearances for tactical planning. The limited number of personnel with access to compromised information suggested that the security breach involved someone in a position of trust and authority who'd provided enemy forces with intelligence that could prove decisive during assault operations against American defensive positions. Drexler studied access lists while recognizing that identification of security compromise required immediate investigation to prevent additional intelligence disclosure while determining the extent of enemy knowledge about American capabilities and defensive planning. But time constraints imposed by imminent Taliban assault prevented detailed counterintelligence investigation that would normally precede tactical operations. Base defense required immediate coordination despite security concerns about potential compromise of operational planning through unknown sources. Ms. Reed, regardless of security questions about your background, we need your tactical expertise for defensive coordination. Can you provide effective support for base defense operations? Harper understood that Drexler's request represented official acknowledgement of her capabilities despite ongoing questions about her identity and mission assignment. Acceptance would require revelation of tactical expertise that might compromise her civilian cover while potentially exposing classified training and operational experience. Sir, I can provide tactical support for defensive operations. What specific capabilities can you contribute to base defense? Harper paused before responding, calculating how much of her true expertise she could reveal without compromising security protocols that had protected her identity for 18 months, while understanding that effective base defense might require acknowledgement of capabilities that civilian contractors weren't supposed to possess. Sir, I can provide precision fire support, tactical coordination, and intelligence analysis for defensive operations against Taliban assault forces. Professional tactical training academies offer specialized education in precision shooting, combat medicine, and operational planning, unavailable through civilian institutions. Advanced certification programs designed by former special operations personnel provide hands-on experience with equipment and techniques used in actual combat situations. Comprehensive curricula prepare students for careers in military, law enforcement, and private security sectors where conventional training would be insufficient for the complex operational challenges encountered in modern security environments. Morrison objected to Harper's continued involvement in tactical operations, despite her demonstrated capabilities during Ranger extraction. Colonel, authorizing civilian contractor participation in base defense operations violates federal regulations regarding contractor limitations in combat zones. Major Morrison, regulations become secondary when base survival depends on utilizing available capabilities regardless of administrative complications. Drexler's response established command priority for tactical necessity over regulatory compliance while acknowledging that Harper's expertise might prove essential for successful defense against Taliban assault operations that threatened all base personnel regardless of their official status or mission assignment. Around equipment storage, Rangers from the extracted Viper 6 team prepared for base defense operations while expressing continued gratitude for Harper's fire support that had saved their lives during the Taliban ambush. Their testimony about her shooting performance had influenced other personnel to accept her tactical expertise despite questions about her contractor status. Lieutenant Nash approached Harper with a request for specific tactical coordination during defensive operations. Ma'am, whatever your actual background, your shooting and tactical knowledge exceed anything we've encountered. We'd like you to coordinate precision fire support during the Taliban assault. Harper recognized Nash's request as official acknowledgement of her capabilities by personnel who'd benefited directly from her tactical expertise. Acceptance would represent formal transition from civilian contractor to tactical operator, despite security concerns about revealing her true identity and training background. Lieutenant, I can provide fire support coordination for defensive operations. Ma'am, we need to know your actual experience and training to coordinate effectively with your tactical capabilities. The direct question demanded an honest assessment of her background, despite security protocols that prevented detailed discussion of classified training and operational experience that had prepared her for situations exactly like Taliban assault operations against American defensive positions. Harper studied assembled personnel while calculating how much truth she could reveal without compromising ongoing security requirements while providing information necessary for effective tactical coordination during base defense operations that would test everyone's capabilities and training. My background includes advanced tactical training and operational experience in precision fire support and defensive coordination. What specific units and operations provided that experience? before Harper could formulate a response that protected classified information while satisfying legitimate operational requirements. New developments indicated that Taliban assault had commenced ahead of predicted timeline, with coordinated attacks against multiple perimeter sectors designed to overwhelm American defensive capabilities. All stations, this is not a drill. Base alarm systems activated, as observation posts reported Taliban forces initiating assault operations against FOB Bravo perimeter defenses. We have multiple enemy formations attacking from 3 directions. All personnel report to defensive positions immediately. The assault had begun with tactical coordination that confirmed Taliban possession of detailed intelligence about American defensive arrangements and optimal timing for operations designed to achieve maximum tactical advantage through surprise and numerical superiority during darkness conditions. Harper moved toward defensive coordination positions with automatic efficiency that demonstrated familiarity with base emergency procedures and tactical deployment that exceeded civilian contractor training, while revealing military experience that she'd concealed through 18 months of maintenance work. Around FOB Bravo, personnel responded to assault conditions through practice procedures that reflected extensive training and preparation for exactly the type of coordinated enemy attack that Taliban forces had launched against American defensive positions. But enemy intelligence advantages created tactical challenges that standard defensive procedures might not overcome without additional capabilities. Morrison established command coordination for defensive operations, while continuing to object to Harper's involvement, despite recognition that her tactical expertise might prove essential for successful resistance against Taliban assault forces. Colonel, civilian contractor participation in direct combat operations continues to violate federal regulations, regardless of immediate tactical requirements. But Drexler prioritized base survival over regulatory compliance, while understanding that Harper's capabilities might represent critical advantages against enemy forces, whose intelligence preparation had created tactical challenges that required creative solutions and utilization of available expertise regardless of administrative complications. Major Morrison, Miss Reed is authorized to provide tactical support for base defense operations. Coordinate with her for precision fire support and defensive coordination. The authorization represented official acknowledgement of Harper's military capabilities despite ongoing questions about her true identity and mission assignment that couldn't be resolved during active combat operations that demanded immediate tactical focus and effective utilization of available resources. Harper accepted tactical radio equipment and moved toward observation positions that provided optimal sight lines for precision fire support during Taliban assault operations. Her knowledge of base layout and defensive positions continued demonstrating familiarity that exceeded standard contractor orientation while suggesting previous military experience with defensive coordination. Through her observation position, Taliban assault formations became visible as they advanced through terrain approaches that base intelligence had identified as probable enemy attack routes. Their coordination and tactical discipline indicated experienced leadership and extensive preparation that confirmed intelligence advantages they'd gained through unknown sources. But detailed observation revealed vulnerabilities in Taliban formations that precision engagement could exploit to disrupt assault coordination, while providing American defensive positions with tactical advantages that could counter enemy numerical superiority and intelligence preparation. Harper established communication with defensive sector coordinators while preparing for precision engagement against Taliban assault forces. Bravo Control, Overwatch is in position for fire support coordination. I have visual contact with enemy formations approaching from 3 directions. Overwatch, this is Bravo Control. Coordinate with sector commanders for target prioritization and engagement sequence. The tactical coordination represented official integration of Harper's capabilities into base defense operations, despite administrative questions about her contractor status and authorization for combat participation that couldn't be resolved during active enemy assault against American positions. Through her rifle scope, Taliban assault teams moved with tactical coordination that demonstrated extensive planning and preparation for operations against American defensive positions. Their confidence suggested expectation of success based on intelligence advantages that had provided detailed knowledge about defensive arrangements and personnel deployment. Harper identified priority targets among Taliban assault formations while calculating engagement sequences that could achieve maximum tactical impact against enemy coordination and command structure. Her target selection demonstrated tactical expertise that extended beyond precision, shooting into operational planning that few personnel possessed. Sector 1. Overwatch has visual contact with a Taliban assault team approaching your perimeter. Approximately 20 fighters use natural terrain for concealment. Recommend engaging lead elements when they reach designated fire markers. Her tactical coordination revealed detailed knowledge of defensive planning and established fire control measures that base personnel used for coordinating defensive operations during enemy assault conditions. Civilian contractors weren't supposed to possess that level of operational knowledge about defensive procedures. Sector 1 commander acknowledged Harper's tactical guidance while preparing defensive fires against Taliban assault teams approaching through terrain that provided limited concealment from American observation positions. Overwatch, we copy enemy formation at grid November 732, standing by for engagement coordination. Harper's first shot during base defense operations eliminated the Taliban assault team leader, attempting to coordinate tactical movement against American perimeter positions. The precision engagement at extreme range disrupted enemy coordination while demonstrating shooting capabilities that confirmed her exceptional training and operational experience. Sector 1, confirmed hit on Taliban team leader. Enemy formation is disrupted and seeking cover. Maintain defensive fires against remaining personnel. Around FOB Bravo, defensive operations proceeded with tactical coordination that reflected extensive training and preparation for enemy assault operations. But Harper's precision fire support provided critical advantages against Taliban forces, whose intelligence preparation had created challenges that standard defensive procedures needed additional capabilities to overcome effectively. Her second shot eliminated Taliban machine gunners attempting to provide suppressive fire against American defensive positions that could have enabled enemy assault forces to advance closer to perimeter defenses. The engagement demonstrated target identification and prioritization that extended beyond individual shooting skills into comprehensive understanding of defensive tactics. Morrison monitored Harper's tactical coordination while recognizing that her capabilities exceeded anything standard military training produced, despite continued objections to civilian contractor participation in direct combat operations that violated federal regulations regarding contractor limitations in combat zones. Colonel, regardless of her effectiveness, Miss Reed's combat participation creates legal precedents that could affect contractor employment regulations throughout the theater. We're potentially looking at federal violations regardless of successful tactical outcomes. But Drexler prioritized immediate tactical requirements over administrative concerns, while understanding that Harper's expertise might prove decisive for base defense operations that would determine whether FOB Bravo survived Taliban assault with minimal casualties or faced catastrophic attack that could overwhelm defensive capabilities. Major Morrison, administrative questions will be addressed after we survive Taliban assault operations. Miss Reed is providing essential tactical support that may determine mission success or failure. Around defensive positions, personnel absorbed Morrison and Drexler's exchange while focusing on tactical requirements that demanded effective coordination against Taliban assault forces, whose intelligence advantages and numerical superiority created challenges that required utilization of available expertise regardless of administrative complications. Harper continued precision engagement against Taliban assault formations, while coordinating with defensive sector commanders for tactical synchronization that maximized effectiveness of combined defensive fires against enemy forces attempting to overwhelm American positions through coordinated attacks from multiple directions. Her third shot eliminated the Taliban squad leader, attempting to coordinate flanking movement against Sector 2 defensive positions that could have created tactical vulnerability in perimeter defense coordination. The engagement demonstrated tactical awareness that extended beyond individual target identification into comprehensive understanding of enemy operational planning. Sector 2, Taliban flanking attempt has been neutralized. Maintain defensive fires against remaining assault personnel advancing through your sector. But Taliban forces adapted to precision fire through dispersion into smaller formations that presented more challenging targets while maintaining assault pressure against American defensive positions. Their tactical flexibility demonstrated experienced leadership that understood how to counter sniper threats through movement and positioning adjustments. Harper shifted her engagement focus to Taliban support personnel, attempting to coordinate assault team communications and tactical synchronization. Disruption of enemy command and control capabilities could prove more effective than individual engagement of assault personnel against defensive sectors that were holding their positions effectively. Her fourth shot eliminated a Taliban radio operator whose communications equipment provided coordination between assault teams attacking different perimeter sectors. The precision engagement disrupted enemy tactical synchronization while creating confusion that American defensive forces could exploit through coordinated counterattacks. All sectors, Taliban coordination has been disrupted through precision engagement against enemy command personnel. Recommend coordinated defensive fires to exploit enemy confusion and disrupt remaining assault capabilities. Around FOB Bravo, defensive operations achieved tactical success against Taliban assault forces, whose intelligence advantages had been countered through effective utilization of American defensive positions and Harper's precision fire support that eliminated key enemy personnel and disrupted assault coordination. But Taliban forces had achieved partial penetration of perimeter defenses through coordinated attacks that exploited specific vulnerabilities in American defensive arrangements. Their intelligence preparation had identified weaknesses that enabled limited tactical success, despite overall failure of assault operations. Morrison reported Taliban penetration to Drexler while coordinating a tactical response that would eliminate enemy personnel who'd achieved access to interior base areas through exploitation of defensive vulnerabilities that intelligence compromise had revealed to assault planners. Colonel, Taliban forces have achieved limited penetration of Sector 3 perimeter. Approximately 10 enemy personnel have reached interior positions where they pose immediate threats to base facilities and personnel. Harper analyzed the tactical situation while recognizing that Taliban penetration created immediate dangers that required rapid response to prevent enemy forces from achieving tactical objectives that could compromise base operations or threaten personnel in areas that weren't prepared for direct enemy contact. Sir, I can provide precision engagement against Taliban penetration forces if provided with tactical coordination for target identification and engagement authorization. Negative, Miss Reed. Taliban forces have reached areas where precision engagement could result in friendly fire casualties. Interior tactical response requires different capabilities than long-range precision fire. The tactical limitation represented a challenge that required Harper to demonstrate additional capabilities beyond precision shooting if she intended to contribute effectively to elimination of Taliban forces that had achieved penetration of base defensive perimeters through intelligence advantages and coordinated assault operations. But before Harper could propose alternative tactical support for countering Taliban penetration, developments indicated that enemy forces inside the base perimeter had specific objectives that suggested detailed mission planning based on intelligence that extended beyond standard reconnaissance into classified information about base layout and facility locations. Cash Brennan reported Taliban movements that indicated enemy forces were advancing toward specific facilities with tactical knowledge that suggested intelligence preparation exceeding normal reconnaissance capabilities. Colonel, Taliban penetration forces are moving directly toward the communication center and command facilities. They know exactly where critical infrastructure is located. The intelligence confirmed that Taliban assault operations had been planned with detailed knowledge about base layout and facility locations that enabled enemy forces to target specific objectives that could compromise American operational capabilities, even if overall assault failed to achieve complete tactical success. Morrison coordinated a defensive response against Taliban penetration, while recognizing that enemy intelligence advantages had created tactical situations that standard defensive procedures weren't designed to address effectively. All interior personnel, Taliban forces are advancing toward critical facilities. Implement facility protection procedures immediately. Harper analyzed Taliban movement patterns while identifying tactical opportunities for engagement that could eliminate enemy penetration forces without creating risks of friendly fire casualties among American personnel responding to interior security threats. Her tactical assessment demonstrated operational planning that extended beyond precision, shooting into comprehensive military expertise. Sir, Taliban penetration forces are using approach routes that provide engagement opportunities without friendly fire risks. I can provide tactical support against enemy personnel targeting critical facilities. Drexler studied Harper's analysis while recognizing that her tactical expertise might prove essential for eliminating Taliban forces whose intelligence advantages had enabled penetration of defensive perimeters and advancement toward objectives that could compromise base operations regardless of overall assault failure. Ms. Reed, what specific tactical support can you provide against Taliban penetration forces? Harper paused before responding, understanding that effective tactical response might require revelation of capabilities that extended well beyond precision, shooting into specialized military training that civilian contractors weren't supposed to possess, according to official documentation and standard qualification requirements. Sir, I can provide close-quarters tactical engagement and facility protection coordination using advanced tactical procedures for countering enemy penetration operations. The response revealed another layer of military expertise that challenged understanding of Harper's contractor status, while suggesting training that extended beyond any civilian qualifications into specialized military operations that remained classified from standard personnel unless operational requirements demanded coordination with higher authorities. Morrison objected to Harper's continued expansion of demonstrated capabilities beyond precision, shooting into tactical operations that required extensive specialized training and security clearances that civilian contractors weren't supposed to possess. Colonel, she's now claiming close-quarters combat capabilities in addition to elite sniper training. None of this matches civilian contractor documentation. But before administrative questions about Harper's expanding demonstrations of military expertise could be pursued, Taliban forces achieved access to the communication center, where they posed immediate threats to base coordination capabilities and tactical response systems that American personnel required for effective defensive operations. Alarms indicated enemy penetration of critical facilities, while base personnel implemented emergency procedures for protecting essential equipment and maintaining operational capabilities, despite Taliban access to areas that contain sensitive information and tactical coordination systems. Harper moved toward a communication center with tactical equipment and advanced capabilities that would be tested under close-quarters conditions where precision shooting became secondary to specialized military training that few personnel possessed, even within special operations communities. The moment had arrived when Harper's true identity and full capabilities would be revealed through tactical performance that exceeded anything civilian contractor documentation could explain or administrative procedures could contain. Her 18 months of maintaining civilian cover were about to end permanently through demonstration of expertise that would expose her real background and mission assignment regardless of security protocols or operational considerations. Around Phobie Bravo, personnel prepared to discover exactly who Harper Reed really was as she moved toward tactical engagement that would reveal capabilities matching the most elite military training available to American Special Operations personnel. The maintenance contractor was about to disappear forever, replaced by someone whose true identity would challenge everything they thought they knew about capability, authority, and the nature of the war they were fighting. Taliban forces inside the communications center had no idea they were about to face someone whose actual qualifications included 8 years of the most classified military training in American history. Someone whose real name had once struck fear into enemy hearts across 3 continents. Someone who was about to remind everyone present why legends didn't announce themselves. They just eliminated threats and protected people who deserved to come home alive. The final revelation was moments away, and Harper Reed's true identity was about to be exposed through tactical performance that would leave no doubt about her actual background, training, and the reason she'd been positioned at Phobie Bravo under civilian cover for 18 months of waiting for exactly this type of situation to develop. Everything was about to change, and everyone present would discover that sometimes the most dangerous people in the world looked exactly like the person fixing your communication equipment while quietly preparing to save your life when conventional solutions proved inadequate for the threats you faced. The Taliban penetration forces were about to learn what happened when they cornered someone whose civilian appearance concealed 8 years of DevGru training, an operational experience that had made her one of the most feared precision operators in special operations history. Harper Reed, maintenance contractor, was about to become Reaper 6 again, and the world was about to remember why some legends never truly disappeared. They just changed uniforms and waited for the moment when their true capabilities became the difference between life and death for people worth saving.